Whiley.
When I was asked to do this, I didn't think twice because I know the impact that Live Aid had on my life. I was 20 years old when it happened. I just remember the massive chunky television in our living room being turned on all day long, and just walking in and out of the room and just being aware that something seismic was happening. It was just so gripping. It was all unraveling. That's probably not the right word, but maybe it is. In front of our very eyes, it was a very, very important and impactful thing in my life as a music fan, just as a human being. So yeah, I wanted to be here today because this is incredible. It's the launch of Just for One Day, the Live Aid musical, back here at Wembley Stadium, as Jamie said, where it all happened 40 years ago. It's going to be, for me, and I suspect for some of you, it'll be emotional and nostalgic, reflecting on this. And then for others, it's going to be a fascinating insight as to what it was like on the day, if you weren't even born then, and I think quite a lot of you weren't born then. No, you missed out actually, we were there, so the obvious, we were there, we experienced it. The show had its record-breaking world premiere at the London Old Vic Theatre last year, where it became the theatre's fastest-selling musical ever, before opening to great acclaim at the Mirvish Theatre in Toronto. Now, hot on the heels of its North American production, Just for One Day comes home triumphantly to the West End and opens at the Shaftesbury Theatre with performances from the 15th of May, just in time for the 40th anniversary of Live Aid this July. Just for One Day celebrates the incredible legacy of Live Aid, when millions of individuals from all walks of life came together, united by the power of music for a common cause. Live Aid was undoubtedly one of the most epic gigs in history. Epic. Brought together an unrivaled lineup of artists on both sides of the Atlantic. So from Bob Dylan to David Bowie, Queen, Madonna, and many more, all blasting out hits from the 80s and some of the most iconic rock and pop anthems of all time. Just for One Day has it all, but as well as being a brilliant night at the theatre, it also continues to support the relief efforts of Live Aid, with 10% of all ticket sales going directly to the Band Aid Charitable Trust. This is when you applaud. Later we'll hear more about the amazing work that the Trust still does around the world, and we'll speak to some of the legends that made it happen. But for now, I am delighted to welcome on stage the brilliant cast of Just for One Day. And this is how you applaud.
matter what it was, you know. But to try, I guess you'd have to go right back to the beginning.
This is the 6 o'clock news on the BBC.
Oh, spare me, bloody Reagan, bloody Thatcher. There's no such thing as society. Fuck off.
Dawn. As the sun breaks through the piercing chill of night on the plains outside of Cora, it lights up the biblical famine, now in the 20th century. This place, say workers here, is the closest thing to hell on earth.
Who's gonna pick you up when you fall?
That broadcast from Ethiopia, I was 18 at the time.
Who's gonna have you up when you call?
Mom, Dad, come and see this.
Who's gonna pay attention to your dream?
It's important.
Who's gonna plug veins when you scream? Come on, sing it, nothing's wrong. Oh no, who's gonna drive you home tonight? Staring at that sea of desperate humanity, so completely removed from your own safe life. It's hard, isn't it, to see so many people each as individuals? But I ask you to picture the kids from your last year in junior school. When you were 11 years old, think about the cheeky kid who always made the whole class laugh. He died just as he reached Coral. And the clever girl who always put her hand up first, she died in early August. And the sporty boy who everyone wanted on their team, that was his body wrapped in cloth they showed on the BBC. This famine happened to individuals just like us. Each of them loved. Each of them is deserving of life as you and your friends. Who's gonna hold you down when you change? Who's gonna come around when you wait? Come on, yeah. Nothing's wrong. Who's gonna drive you home tonight? Who's gonna drive you Who's gonna drive you home tonight?
Once the bureaucracy of death is over, the bodies are carried back to the villages they left in hope such a little time ago. A tragedy bigger than anybody seems to realise, getting worse each day.
How can people let that happen?
I just felt so ashamed. And since music was all I knew, I ran Midge and we put together a record. And then came the concert, just to find some sort of response.
You can't do it on your own, Bob.
Yeah, but Harvey fucking Goldsmith, do I seriously have to work with this guy?
So we are anticipating some incredible names for this event. We've approached pretty well with the biggest bands and rock stars in the last 20 years.
Yeah, but who's definitely booked so far?
Definitely booked.
Well, I think it's safe to say it's a firm yes from the Boomtown Rats.
But also David Bowie and Elton John, Bob Dylan, Sting, Mick Jagger, Madonna, and The Who are reforming just for this event.
What? Sorry, excuse me. What the hell, Geldof? Shut up. None of them have said yes.
Well, they can't say no now, can they?
You cannot lie on behalf of my organisation. I have a reputation in this business.
It's not lying, it's just saying something that might be true later.
You can't get the biggest stars to do you a favour by pissing them off and lying about them in the press. Right. You made me a promise. Can you be tactful? Can you do that one for me, please?
I am tactful.
Tactful?
Yes.
You called the dictator of Ethiopia a total see you next Tuesday to his face. I mean, yeah, fair play, but the translators shit themselves.
Would it be safe to say that there's some tension in your team?
Yes. And one other thing I meant to say, and I think Harvey and I have talked about this.
Have we?
It's one concert, but it's going to be on 2 continents. You know, linked simultaneously by satellite and beamed around the world to billions of viewers.
What? Oh, that's insane. I don't think we have the time to pull that off.
So any questions?
Yes, loads.
I meant from a journalist.
Go ahead. Well, can't say that. Do with it. Okay.
We've never done like that. Of course we did. I'm not like that. Yes, you are. At least my fucking actor looks like me.
Okay, thank you very much. Don't get on it. Okay, thank you. We can now get back to the actors, right? So we can get back into character. Okay. So now we can see a clip of Live Aid from Wembley, and this clip is accompanied by an amazing track from the soon-to-be-released original cast recording of Just for One Day.
Someone gets mine. I hope that someone gets mine.
Standing on the side of that stage, staring out at that massive crowd, you know, I felt, no, this was all too much.
But you're not on your own in this boat.
But what if I'd never watched that news report?
But you did.
But where would I be right now?
I don't know. But in that moment, I didn't want to be anywhere else but in that stadium with you, willing you on. The silicon chip inside her head, it switched to overload. Nobody's gonna go to school today. She's gonna make them stay at home. No reasons, no reasons.
Tell me why I don't like Mondays.
Tell me why.
I don't like Mondays.
Tell me why.
I don't like Mondays. I wanna shoot. Ooh. Whole day now. That's what I'm the times machine is kept so clean that it ties to a waiting world. The blood is getting so shut. This world is rough, and the thoughts turn to that wrong little girl. See me running that beach. Now they can so low to the biggest thing. They can see no reason, just the rock, no reason, what's the reason? Do you know? Tell me why. Like Mondays. Tell me why I don't like Mondays. Tell me why I don't like Mondays. I wanna shoot. The whole day down, down, I was looking around the stadium, but in truth, I was looking around the whole world. It was a moment of utter clarity and purpose. And the entire crowd instinctively knew what this meant. It was though we were all sharing this moment as one. And then the bullhorn crackles, and the captain tackles, and the bones of the house rise, and they can see no reason to thrive, no reason. What reason do you need to die? Tell me why you like Monday. Tell me why I don't like Monday. Tell me why I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like Monday. Tell me why I don't like whole day.
Change the world. Thing is, it's not all about music, is it?
Well, of course it is. The music of itself changes nothing. But it does bring people together. And together it's political. From there it's game on.
Just for one day?
Well, not if your generation takes it from here.
People try to put us down just because we get around. The things they do look cold. I hope I die before I get old. This is my generation. This is my generation, baby. Why don't you all fade away? Talking about my generation. And don't try to take what we else to say. I'm not trying to cause a big sensation.
Talking about my generation.
I'm just talking about my generation. This is my generation. This is my generation. My generation, baby. Why don't you all fade away? Talking about my generation. And don't try to take what we all to say. Talking about my generation. No, I'm not trying to cause a big sensation. Talking about my generation. I'm just talking about my generation. This is my generation. This is my generation, baby. Don't try to put us down. Talking about my generation. Just because we get around. Talking about my generation. Things they do look talking about my generation. I hope I'm before I get old. Talking about my generation. This is my generation. This is my generation. This is my
insightful and also emotional and just very evocative of that day, I think. And I would like to introduce two more of the men who are responsible for pulling off the biggest gig in music history here at Wembley 40 years ago. Please welcome Midge and John Kennedy.
Hey guys, I'm Midge, the true talent behind all of this. I just want to start with an apology. I'm sorry you had to hear one of Bob's songs. Don't like Maydays. I'm not going to spout off about anything in particular. I want to just comment as a musician, as a songwriter. I want to comment on how difficult it is to take some of the most classic rock songs of the 20th century and interpret them for a musical. And these guys have done a phenomenal job. I went to see the show at the Old Vic, and I went in as a jaded old rock star, expecting cheese. And there were moments during the show where this jaded old rock star had a lump in his throat. And I heard one song jumped out in particular for me. And I was never a big Bob Dylan fan. The song was written in 1962, Blowing in the Wind. And the interpretation that they've done on that, the staging, the lighting, the presentation, the arrangement, was phenomenal, and it changed my opinion on what theatre and musicals could be. Up until that moment, Fred and Ginger were the most I could conjure up. It's a very difficult thing to do. They've pulled it off incredibly well. You can see a generation on stage here who most of them weren't born or thought about, or weren't even a twinkle in a parent's eyes when Live Aid happened. But the passion they have doing this equals the passion of the artists on the day. We all turned up that day knowing why we were there. It wasn't about ego. It wasn't about self. It was about something much, much bigger than anything we could become. And it's great to see this happen. We've done various versions of the Band Aid song over the years to varying degrees of success. So every time we do that, it's our job as trustees to generate as much income for the cause with that song, with Live Aid, with the footage, with all the stuff that we own. But this is something that wasn't on our radar. This is a different platform. This is a different audience. This is a different way of getting the message out, which to us is incredibly important. And as a Scot, the money's kind of important as well. So I just want to hand you across to John Kennedy, who will fill you in on some of the facts and figures, and is infinitely more informative than I am.
Thank you, Midge. Good afternoon. I've been asked to talk to you about the work of the Band Aid Trust. I don't want to educate you. I don't want to preach to you. The musical is about entertainment, not acclamation. It's not a triumphant statement of what the Trust has achieved, just a great story. The musical has already raised £600,000 for Band Aid. By the end of this year, that will be £1 million and could be much, much more. But don't buy a ticket for that reason. Buy it because you will have a fantastic evening, just as you would if you were going to see Mamma Mia. It's a story that inevitably and rightly focuses largely on one larger-than-life character. You may be able to guess who that is without me spoiling the story. It's a story about the greatest concert in history, with the greatest set of artists and songs imaginable. A story of the largest global television event in history. It's just pure entertainment. Think about the story that will entertain you. God looked at a famine in Africa and said he had to do something about it. He knocked on the door for help, and it was answered by a scruffy, foul-mouthed Irishman. Not a diplomat, a lanky, impetuous, domineering, potential dictator. God said, "You'll have to do." Bob then bullied Midge into writing with him one of the most successful songs of all time. That song, astonishingly, has raised more money than any Lennon and McCartney song. He then bullied 4 other men to be in his band of merry men, a job that we thought might last a year. Here we are 40 years later. It immediately spawned Comic Relief, a £1 billion machine which has done incredible things in the UK and overseas. And then, to the horror of Bob's band of merry men, he announced 2 concerts for an audience of 2 billion with 16 satellites. The Olympics had only had 2 satellites. And a space station, and Concorde, all whilst these trustees were trying to do their day jobs and raise young families. And those 6, or at least 5 of them, were frightened as they found they were chartering ships and planes and helicopters to take food and medicine halfway across the world. They were running a fleet of trucks, 630 trucks. They were building bridges and dams and hospitals. They were arranging thousands of life-saving surgeries. They were buying donkey carts and goats. They were responsible for immunisation programs and building the trains. They were building schools and life-saving and life-changing water supplies. And then 20 years along the journey, they would put on 8 global concerts that would play a pivotal role in tens of billions of pounds of debt relief and enormous aid in trade facilitation. But the musical is not about those achievements, but an uplifting and hopefully heartwarming story of what happened when the public decided that Maggie Thatcher was wrong, and there is such a thing as society. It's about you, the public, or at least you 40 years ago. Yes, overseas aid is now out of fashion, but we can never ever let humanity be out of fashion. Band-Aid has, through charity and political activism over the years, been responsible for in excess of $40 billion of new funding for the African continent. But let me finish by telling you one very simple story. Last week, we, the Band-Aid Trust, have been doing this for 40 years, 5 months. To us, it's never felt stale. We got a request from a small charity. They wanted £25,000 from us. If we gave them that sum, and they added it to the £25,000 they'd raised themselves, then they would give a village of 3,000 people a clean water supply that would last for 20 to 30 years. The work would be implemented by local people, not a head office in London. At the moment, the water supply is hours away, and the job of fetching water falls on the shoulders of wives and daughters. Whilst they're spending hours on twice daily round trips totaling 6 miles a day to collect water, not even clean water, the girls are not going to school, and the wives are not focusing on income-generating activities. Yes, it's gender inequality, but it's the local way of life. En route to collect the water, the women and girls face gender-based violence and risks from wild animals. So at a cost of only £8 per person to Band-Aid, 3,000 people will for 20 to 30 years have a clean water supply. Girls will go to school, adult women will start their own small businesses growing vegetables to sell in the market and rearing animals, and food on the table will be a more secure outcome. Health will improve because the water's clean. That project will cost 5% of the money we've already made from the musical. The other 95% will be spent just as effectively, and over the years the money will roll in. But don't go to the musical because of those 3,000 people whose lives will be transformed. Go because you will have one of the best nights of your life. You will laugh, you will cry, you will dance, and you will sing. And if at the end you're not on your feet giving the cast and the story and the creative team a standing ovation, then Bob personally will give you your money back.
Focusing and remind us what it's all about. Thank you very much. The Live Aid concerts really do demonstrate the power of music to bring people together. I remember, for those of us, I said I was 20, watching the TV and feeling as helpless as Bob Geldof did when he watched those news reports and just feeling absolutely desperate, not knowing what to do. It gave us the opportunity to feel part of something, to contribute, and it's still important to do that today. You'll have noticed by your feet there are some lovely bags, and in those bags there is a 7-inch vinyl containing the first 2 singles of the original cast recording of Just for One Day, and we're very excited to officially announce that the full album is going to be released on the 11th of June, available digitally, of course, on all streaming platforms, and for those wanting to fully embrace the nostalgic sound of these legendary songs, you can do that on double CD and also double vinyl. It's not your typical cast recording, but a full 30-track studio album recorded in the very same spaces as many of the original iconic tracks, so very special indeed. It showcases the extraordinary new arrangements of the songs heard in the show, and also features some incredible performances from the talent. You saw the talent on this stage earlier on, right? How amazing were they, the performers? And that is what you get, the cast and the band of Just for One Day. Jamie?
On the anniversary date this year, we will be hosting a very special performance to mark the anniversary with some surprise appearances, which we're looking forward to. The next stage of this presentation is not in here, it's actually out there. So if we can move everybody out into the stadium, there's going to be a Q&A with Bob.
This is exciting, right? Follow us.